What's up, guys? Dale Valor here from Modern Valor Dating. And as a one-off, what we're going to do tonight is we're going to do a live Q&A for dating and relationships with Alex Dillon that was on a season of The Bachelor. And so, yeah, it's always good to get a woman's perspective from time to time. And so, we always do this Monday night between 7 and 8 o'clock. Eastern Standard Time, but we always like to do a one-off here and there, and get a woman on here and get her perspective and her vantage point with dating and relationships. So I think that here she goes right here. All right, right, here we go. Just waiting for her to pop up right now, and then we'll hop up into it. Hey, what's up?
Hey, Dale, how you doing?
Good. So you are in the car?
I am in the car. Yes, we're headed to New York. So apologies for.
No, that's all right. That's all right. My thought was, I was like, is she going to be driving, doing this, or what's the deal?
Yeah,
so
task, right? No, my friend's driving, so that's fine. I'm in the back seat. I actually have two other girls in the car and one gentleman. One of them is my roommates. The other one is my friends. So just some background there. So you have a few girls.
All right, cool. Well, I'll tell you what. When we start having some questions pop up and things like that, what we'll do is, if they want to chime in and you want to pass the phone, whatever. I don't care. It don't matter to me. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's all good. What's up, Colson? I see you. Thanks for hopping in here. Appreciate that. So, yeah, guys, we're doing dating and relationship Q&A. We got Alex Dillon on here. And so, just if you feel free to throw out any questions you want. If there's a topic that you want us to talk about, go ahead and throw that out too. And we'll definitely dive deep and get into it. So Z Baby Lax, I see you. Thanks for hopping in. Appreciate that. So I'll start it off. We got a couple of questions ahead of time. People that were like, hey, whatever, I'm working. I can't get on right then. So let me start off with one of these questions. All right. So you being on The Bachelor for one season, did that change your perspective of dating or anything like that, being on there?
Sure. Well, first off, Dale, can you see me okay? I can't see you right now. You can see me? Okay. All right. Great.
Yep.
You'll pop up in a second. To be honest, it didn't exactly change my perspective of dating whatsoever. I mean, it sort of changed my circumstance a little bit, but
okay.
It didn't really change my perspective of dating. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. Maybe if I was there for a little bit longer, then I'd have a different answer. But no, not really.
Okay. All right, cool. So one of the questions that, we always get, it seems like inevitably any time that I do this, one of the questions that I get is, I'm a guy, I'm super nervous to go and approach and go just come talk to you. Say you're at the mall or something like that.
Okay.
And I'm, I would like to come talk to you. However, I'm super nervous and I don't know what to say and what to do. What is a way that, that you would be open to in terms of being approached?
In terms of being approached, okay, I think that the best thing to do would be to kind of keep it natural if possible. So, because it's a little bit awkward on both ends if you're just to approach someone and immediately start talking to them, because then usually you can kind of tell what this person's intentions are. If anything, that you kind of become very vulnerable, which is great.
Yeah.
But let's say that the person is eating McDonald's or whatever, then you go to McDonald's, something in common. And I don't know, to kind of just talk about that, like, oh, what did you get there? Something to kind of like make it a little bit of an even playing field, instead of just going up and being like, oh, this is my name and how are you doing, whatnot. Because then I think it's just a little bit less organic. So if there's anything that you can see that's in common with the person just through the eye, then I'd say just do that first.
Oh, so like, I see you got a Big Mac. I like Big Mac too. Would you like to go like play in the play place or something?
Fair enough.
You know,
I mean, if there's something cooler you guys can bring up, then please do that. But you gotta have to work with what you have. So, food court is difficult. It's difficult for that one, but I think you see what I'm saying.
I generally, well, you know, I'm a dating coach, right? And so when I'm working with guys, my students and things like that, generally what I tell them is, you know, like if you see a girl that you want to approach, you know, if there's something about you that you want an opinion on. So like, for instance, say you're at the mall, right? You're in whatever Barn or Nordstrom's or something, you know, some kind of whatever store like that. Hey, I've got 2 shirts here. I really could use an opinion on this. You know, like, what do you think would look better, this one or that one? You know, and that way it kind of opens the door for conversation.
Absolutely.
Without it being, without it just being like, so like, hey, girl, you're super cute. You know, you want to exchange numbers? You know what I mean? Without it being like something like that. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like,
just some kind of way to exactly what you said, just break open into a conversation. That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
That's a good one. And then you'll be able to kind of gauge if the person is interested or at least friendly. You know what I mean? Because if someone's like, oh, well, you know, whatever, I don't really care, or they kind of give you a nonchalant sort of answer, then you'll kind of be able to, then it's going to be harder for you. But at least you sort of know what you're walking into.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you're talking to someone a little bit friendlier, which is, I assume, the kind of people that you're trying to date, then you're able to kind of get that first impression right there. So that's a really good technique. That's a good one.
Yeah, and you know, the thing is like what I try to instill in the guys that I'm working with is, you know, like, look, you know, obviously from your perspective, you know, from a woman's perspective, obviously, you know, you're trying to screen the guy to see if it's somebody that you feel as though could be compatible on some level, right?
Yes.
He should be doing the same. You know, like, if it takes more than just, you know, like, oh, okay, she's pretty. Like, all right, so then what? You know, like, beauty is common in a sense. You know what I mean? Like, there's tons of people that are attractive, but, you know, find out more by getting a conversation going a little bit. Absolutely. And then see what she's about. And if she's somebody that you want as a part of your life on some level, and then from there, you know, see if you've got some things in common or whatever, you know, like to keep the conversation going, you know.
Absolutely.
So yeah. What's up, Adita? I see you. Adita's in here every time I'm on with a girl, by the way. And he says hi, darling. And I don't think he's talking to me. So.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Hey, Dell, hang on one second. I'm going to plug in my AirPods here. I think I might get a better connection. Okay.
I got you. What's up, man? I see you. Thanks for hopping in. Hey, guys. We're doing dating and relationship Q&A. We got Alex Dillon on here. Yeah.
We do. All right. Let me stick in the other one. All right. Oh, there you go. I can hear you.
Okay. Good. Usually it's not a problem for people to hear me because I'm a loud talker. So,
which is great. That's good. It gives you some assertiveness there.
That's right. That's how I get down. So another question. Well, hey guys, listen again. We're doing dating and relationship Q&A. If you have any questions or any topics you want us to talk about, throw it out there. And we're happy to do it. That's what we're here for. And boom, we'll get it done.
Absolutely.
So, what are you going to New York for?
So I'm visiting some friends. We're going to start off in Brooklyn for a bit. That'll be fun. Then make our way to Midtown East. We know some people there. One of the ladies in the car is actually from New York, so we're going back to her stomping grounds.
All right.
Yeah, she creates the itinerary. We always have such a blast. I love it. I love the city so much.
Yeah.
I wish I got here more. So nothing crazy planned as of yet, but and also, you know, with COVID, we're trying to be as respectful as possible. So if anything, we'll do like an intimate dinner or something with our our friends. So
Yeah, I get you. I totally get it. You know, it's funny because I did music professionally for about 10 years. Yeah, I did hip hop for about 10 years, and you know, I was signed to a major label and all that kind of thing. And I used to tour a lot. And but for whatever reason, I don't know what it is, I never got to New York City. I've been to like about 46 states, and I've been all over the world, but I've never been to New York City, ever.
Oh
It's never happened.
really?
Yeah, right. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, I know.
New York
You,
whatsoever.
you're breaking up a little bit. I caught about half of what you said. What was that?
Well, I was gonna say that some people just don't have an interest in New York whatsoever. So I was
Yeah.
curious if you were just trying to, if you just had no interest, or if you were actually making
No,
plans on,
it
going up to
it's
there.
just never happened for whatever reason. I don't know why. Like it just it seemed like anytime that I was doing a tour, New York would always be like anytime that I would get a date for New York, it would be a thing of like it would be way out of the way for the rest of the tour, and it would just never it would just never come together, you know. And so, and I've just never been there on my own or whatever. But people from New York, when they like, I'm in Detroit, all right.
Okay.
When people from New York come to Detroit, they say Detroit is just like Brooklyn. I hear that all the time. They're just like, this is just like Brooklyn, you know.
All right.
So
let me ask the New Yorker in the car. Would you
yeah.
compare, Linda, would you compare Detroit to Brooklyn? Okay, she's never been to Detroit, so I guess that
Okay.
can't give an authentic opinion. But sure, I mean, that's an interesting concept. I personally have never been to Detroit either, but I like Brooklyn, so there you go. And you're currently in Detroit?
What's that?
And you're currently in Detroit?
Where I'm standing right now is Detroit.
Okay. All right, fair. And you're liking it then?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I grew up here and all that, you know. So,
there you go.
yeah, absolutely. So, another question, you know, that I got previous to us coming on here was, you know, how do you, what was it? Hold on, I got it written down here. Okay, so what is a way that, you know, like if a guy approaches you and you know you're talking to you know you're kicking it or whatever, what's a way that a guy can pick up on your signs to show him that you're interested without you verbally saying like, I want to be a part of your life? You know what I mean? Like you know, like a way that he's going to pick up on it, because you know a lot of times, and I find this to be very true, dudes are very oblivious to women flirting. All right?
Okay.
And so what's some of the signs that you kind of put out there that, you know, that show him that you're interested?
Sure. Okay. Well, honestly, nonverbal cues are huge. It really is. Body language is like 60% of communication. It's just something that people really do need to get down.
Absolutely.
It's really important. So I'd say that if someone was to come up to me and start asking questions or kind of insinuating that he's interested, if I'm kind of sort of pulling away, or I'm distancing myself, or I'm kind of looking off, like trying to see, sort of show that I'm concentrating on something different and I'm trying to leave the conversation, then it's a no-go. Then it's an absolute no-go. But if I was actually interested in eye contact and, you know, agreeing with him or asking follow-up questions or actually trying to make it a conversation, then it should really be, that's a really good sign. It's not in everything, because some people are just very gregarious and like to talk to people, but that really is that's a green sign to go. But immediately the person's just, you know, showing that they're not interested in the conversation as a whole, then it really is in the person's best interest to sort of cut the conversation, because at that point you're just being rude. Because you go up and you act and you know start talking to someone, and the person is trying to non-verbally get you to stop talking to them, then it's your responsibility to really pick up on that. Because then they would feel rude, being like, hey, I don't want to talk to you right now. I'm so sorry. because they can't say, oh, I have a boyfriend or something, because then they look like an asshole, because what if that's not what you're trying to do, you know? So
yeah.
just, body language is huge. Just being close to the person, eye contact, asking them questions to make a conversation. That's when you know.
Yeah. You know, I tell guys that I'm working with, and by the way, if you have any kind of questions or topics you want us to discuss in regards to dating or relationships, throw it out there. We're more than happy to oblige. So what I tell the guys that I'm working with, I call them indicators of interest.
Okay.
All right. And you touched quite a bit on that. You know, like, I tell them, like, look, don't expect a girl to, like, jump in your lap or something. You know what I mean? Like, that's not going to happen, all right? Unless maybe she's, like, completely wasted or something. But the thing is that, you know, like you said, nonverbal communication,
absolutely.
Eye contact. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, just the way that you carry yourself, like, I can tell, like, if I'm talking to a girl at a bar, for instance, mm-hmm. if her body language is closed off to me, then she's not interested. However, if she circles around and her body language is more open and more expressive, and one of the things that I will test for a little bit is I will make an awkward pause. You know, we'll be talking about something, and we'll stop. We'll just stop talking. And if she re-engages and says something to the effect of, like, so where are you from? You know, or something like that, then that tells me, like, okay, you know, like, she wants this conversation to keep going, so she has interest on some level.
Mm-hmm. That is so, you know, that's a very good piece of advice. I completely agree. That's ballsy, too. Good for you, creating that pause. Because some people don't do that. They'll just get nervous, and they're not going to give themselves, they're not going to give mm-hmm. the ability to get rejected as a whole and to stop the conversation because they're too nervous about the outcome of them taking that as a reason to leave the conversation. So good for you. I like that. That's a really good idea. I'll take that one.
Oh, thank you.
We're learning. I'm learning here too, you know. Goes both ways.
And, like, I teach my guys how to do, you know, basically, like, when we're talking about body language. Mm-hmm. I think that it's so important to learn, you know, how to carry yourself. Mm-hmm. I have them go through body language exercises.
Oh.
And, yeah, you know, like, because, you know, like, look, if you see a guy, even if you find him somewhat physically attractive, mm-hmm. but he's just, like, mopey and looking at his shoes, walking around, you're going to be like, nah. You know what I mean? Like,
that is true.
This guy's depressed or something, you know? So, you know, who wants to deal with that, right? So, you know, I tell them, like, you know, I mean, it's kind of common sense, but a lot of people don't, I don't know, a lot of people, they just don't know it, I guess. What's up, Dia? I see you. You know, shoulders back, chin up, you know, and always have a smile. Have a smile on your face. Like, a lot of guys have this concept of, like, I need to be stoic. And, you know, and the thing is, like, no, look like you're having fun.
Absolutely. No. You want to engage with people who just seem positive and happy and can actually contribute to your / the conversation. Mm-hmm. I do feel like that's kind of an issue with guys sometimes because it's also a defense mechanism by just kind of coming across as not just interested and not trying to become like, oh, I'm better than this person, but you make yourself more vulnerable by becoming a little bit, you know, out of your shell in a way. So that is a thing that I see most guys do. Girls do it as well.
Yeah.
And some people just have shy personalities, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But first impressions are huge, and you do have to try to be positive and try to be fun. I completely agree.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, who wants to be around somebody that's just like, I'm Joe Cool, tough guy. I'm very badass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, all right, you know, like.
Not much more fun there, absolutely.
So, yeah, you know, so, you know, I tell the guys, smile, you know, smile with your eyes, you know, wide eyes and, you know, shoulders back, tonality, you know, because here's the thing, you know, like say, for instance, you're at a loud environment, like a club or something like that. The thing is that if, like, say you're with, you got everybody that's in the car with you right now, and you're all at the club.
Okay.
And I walk up and I start talking to the group, the thing is that if one person in that group can't hear me, it could be a wrap. Because, like, one of your friends might be like, this guy's weird. You know what I mean? And so,
Sure.
let's go to the bathroom. Let's go dance. So, everybody has to hear you. So you have to talk from your chest and not from your throat. So that way everybody can hear you and everybody feels included.
Absolutely.
Somebody asked, what's a club? #COVID.
I know, what's a club? We don't know her. I know. But in general, I don't recommend it, especially if you're taking someone out. Well, obviously this wouldn't be a first date kind of situation, but if you're trying to get to know someone, I would not recommend the club ever under any circumstances, because you can't hear anybody and there's too many distractions. I really would never recommend doing that. Sometimes it really does work for people because there's opportunity to go to the bar by yourself or with the person and dance or whatever, but you're kind of setting yourself up for a loss there. First off, there's a lot of distractions. It's very loud. And sometimes people it's really not their thing, so it has to be reciprocated as well.
Right. Yeah. And I'm with you 100%. I would never recommend that, like, for a first date or something to that extent, for everything that you just said. However, I would say that, like, I'm not going to lie. I like to dance, Okay, you're back. You kind of broke up there for a second. You started to say something.
Oh, well, I was asking if you could hear me. We just kind of went under a tunnel there, so.
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right, we're good. We're good. But, yeah, no, I got you. No worries. So, like, when I go to a club with a girl, it's somebody that I've been seeing a while. Like, we're going to the club together. We're leaving together. It's not a thing of getting to know each other. It's a thing of, we already know each other. Let's go have a good time, have a couple of drinks, dance and call it a night,
Absolutely.
So, yeah, no doubt. Speaking of which kind of leads me to another question. What to you is a good first date?
A good first date. I personally am a fan of the classic, just a dinner. I think that's the best thing to do.
Okay.
Because there's something in common there. It's fun. It's a good atmosphere, depending on where you pick, and you're able to actually get to know the person. And there's not that many distractions. You can hear them and have a nice open conversation. So really, for a first date, that's my go-to. I think that's the best thing to do.
Okay. All right.
No, you can also get into the argument of people who are on the dating apps and they're going on a lot of dates, and usually the guy ends up paying for the date. That's not always, but I feel like that's something that people can be kind of used to. And sometimes that gets a little bit expensive for guys who are going on a lot of dates. I mean, granted, they are kind of setting themselves up for that. So it depends on what situation you're in. But the point is just to have it be an open, quiet environment. So if it's someone that you're really just trying to get to know for a second, then I'd recommend doing a coffee date or something. And that can be brief because, I mean, studies show that in the first 7 minutes, if you're going to be interested in someone. I don't know how true that is. But with that, I mean, if you guys are both having a pretty bad time, then it's not going to be too long, whereas a dinner can be like a 3-hour thing. You know what I mean?
Well, my coffee's done. I'm going to take off.
I know. Oh my gosh. Well, I actually had the funniest conversation with someone the other day. He was saying that if he's going on a date with someone and if he decides that he does not like the person, within 15 minutes, he'll let the girl know and he'll call off the date. He'll be like, okay, I'm sorry, this isn't really working. End the date. And I'm like, I call bullshit. Like, there's no chance you're doing that. And he was like, no, I do. That's what I do. Like, no way. Like, no one could be that heartless. and we had such a back and forth on it, and I ended up kind of agreeing with him because he said that, well, let's say I'm not interested in the person, but the person is actually really interested in me, then I don't want to lead this person on by staying there longer than I want to, and then the person be like, oh, I had so much fun, let's go on a second date or whatever. It's it's sort of delaying the inevitable. I think 15 minutes is a little too short. Like, I get that.
Yeah.
Compromise and make it like a 30-minute thing, and I think you should really get through the date. But
yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. 15 minutes is like, unless I guess the only the caveat to that would be like, okay, so whatever, you both matched on Tinder, and she showed up, in her picture, she's $120 and she showed up at $220. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a negative about, honestly, social media and dating apps in general. That's something that people are getting. You get caught up with that too. It gets sad because people are out there just trying to compete with the other people online or on their feed, and then they just continue to edit their pictures like that to the point where they don't even. It's become their normal. And they kind of, they sort of detach themselves from reality in a bit. But I wouldn't recommend people doing that in general, because you're just going to set yourself up in the other.
Well, of course. Yeah. Like, and I mean, like me, myself, I've never been like straight out and out catfished. You know what I mean? However, I have met up with some girls who, we'll just say, take very good pictures.
Okay.
So, I mean, stuff like that can happen, I guess. You may laugh at this because I've had other people laugh at this, but for a first date, a lot of times, what I recommend and what I have found to be successful for me is to meet at the mall.
Okay.
Like to meet at the mall, and this is why. All right. Firstly, it's a public place. I try to with the guys that I work with. I try to reinstill in them that, like, look, you have to make safety a concern. So many women are really concerned about their safety. I mean, for good reason. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. But guys a lot of times don't think about that. Buy a yogurt. But the thing is that as guys, we don't think about safety as a concern as you might, because we're not attracted to people. Women aren't, 80 pounds heavier, faster, stronger. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you got to have your advantage there. Absolutely.
Right. So, and I mean, like on dating apps and things like that, like guys get asked this all the time. I know I have, like, so we're setting up a time to hang out or whatever. And, I get asked this, like, you're not a serial killer, are you? LOL. And like,
awkward question.
I know. It's like, well, I mean, would you even be contemplating this if you actually thought I was a serial killer? But like, have you ever encountered a serial killer in your entire life? Like, not likely to happen. But I do try to reinstill, try to reinforce safety because I get it, So the thing is that the mall is a public place, a lot of people around, and, there's so many things to do. Like, you can go and window shop. Like, I've taken girls there from time to time, and we'll, like, dress up in ridiculous clothes. Just like try stuff on and things like that. And then there's also other people to kind of like talk about, like, oh, did you see that guy with the crazy cowboy hat and the big belt buckle? Oh, that guy was so weird. Things like that. Just kind of have like start like little inside jokes and things like that. And then, here's the deal. If it doesn't go well, like it's easy to be like, all right, well, I got to get going. I'm going to take off, and not a big deal. But if it's going well, there's always places either in the mall or around the mall. Hey, you hungry? I'm getting kind of hungry. Why don't we head on over to, whatever restaurant that's right by there and grab a drink or whatever. You know what I mean? We can extend it. You know,
totally right. I completely agree with you. There's so many options, so many things to do. I completely agree. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, you know, like some malls have like, you know, like indoor putt and like, you know what I mean? So there's so many options of just like, just random shit, you know, to do. So I think it's a great place to like have a first date. You know, you know, and honestly, like I've taken girls on first dates to go like shoe shopping with me. Like, look, I need some new sneakers. I'm a guy. I'm not programmed to know what good shoes are. I could use your opinion. Like, you know what I mean?
Has that worked for you?
Yeah, many times. Absolutely, many times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or look, I've got a speaking engagement coming up. I'm looking for a new suit jacket. I could really use your opinion on it. You look like you might have good taste in clothes. Bam.
That is so
you know
true.
What I mean?
Yeah, you're totally right. And people love having their opinions heard. So yeah, that's true. I was gonna say if someone asked me if I hadn't met the person, being like, hey, I need your help picking out shoes, I'd be like, that doesn't sound fun at all.
Well, I'm not saying like let's go to Shoe Carnival or something. You know, I mean, like, you know, there's all kinds of options at the mall for that. You know what I mean? So
I agree. I see your vision now. I get it.
Yeah,
I was hesitant at first, but I agree. I think it's important, and people love having their opinions heard, as I said. So good. I'm glad that's worked. Maybe I'll try that. Sometime. This mass texting on my phone. Want to go shoe shopping? I'm sure you want my opinion.
I don't know if it would work the opposite.
Why would it work the opposite? Are you kidding me?
Because I wouldn't be able to tell you what kind of shoes are good. I'd be like, yeah, those are fine. What size are they? 7s or 6s or whatever you wear? Yeah, perfect. Let's go.
Yeah. That is true. Let's go. Get in the car.
Why don't you go with these Crocs?
Let's wrap it up.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go do other stuff.
Please. Okay. So I won't do that then.
And you know, and I don't know what it is. And this is another thing about this too. I've never been able to quite figure it out, like the psychology behind it.
Okay.
But for whatever reason, like, hold on, we got a question here. If a guy buys you things or pays for pizza, what is the percentage you won't get laid with him? Please be honest.
Wait, what do you mean? I need more detail on that question. I don't understand. First off, it's negative, the percentage that I won't get laid. That's funny.
I think let me summarize. I think I know what he's trying to say. All right. I think what he's trying to say is, you know, there's a stigma with, you know, like, all right. So for instance, right. And by no means am I saying you or not. I don't think he's saying you either. All right. But just devil's advocate, right? I think what he's trying to say is, so you have one guy who's like the nice guy, you know what I mean? Who's trying to buy your affection, you know, in the sense of like, let's go to this expensive dinner. I mean, not that I ever consider pizza an expensive dinner, but whatever. You know, you have that guy who's like, you know, like trying to buy your attention and your affection versus, you know, the polar opposite of that being the bad boy who just like, come on, girl, we're about to just go to my place and drink.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I think that's what he's trying to say is, if a guy is a nice guy, what are the chances of him being able to like get a actual connection with you? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, I think when you put yourself out there and you're going to buy the person a dinner or drinks or anything, you definitely are putting yourself out there, and there's no, it's going to help you. It's just a good, nice gesture. So it's going to do nothing but help. I mean, maybe make sure that the person's interested first. I think that'd probably be the smartest thing to do. But
right.
I wouldn't recommend if you're getting to know someone and then just start buying them stuff off the bat. Like, that's not a smart thing at all for the person and also for the receiver, because then they also feel a little bit awkward and maybe pressured. I do think that when you take the girl out for pizza or something, I do recommend, and this is a little bit sexist, but I do recommend the guy to offer to pay, and then the girl should follow up being like, no, we should split it, and then kind of figure it out from there. But no, I don't think you should ever go into a new relationship just buying the person things on the get-go. I don't think that's a smart thing to do. I cannot give you a percentage of times that works and times it doesn't. I don't know. But you kind of have to gauge it a little bit. But with the super stuff, maybe offer to do that. I'd recommend it.
Generally, my advice with paying for dates and things like that is, you know, there's just, like I said, this perception that, like, if I pay for it, you know, if I pay for the meal or I pay for the date as the guy, that it comes across as I'm getting played. You know what I mean? And so the way that I like to do it is like this. Like, all right, so we're going to meet up for drinks at whatever, some cool hip bar, you know?
Good.
Yeah, we're going to go to Brooklyn and and go to some cool hip spot. We're going to have a couple of drinks, and then, you know, I'll pay for that. And if she offers to pay for it, what I will say is, I'll tell you what, I appreciate that. Let me get this one. The next one, how about you get that one?
Okay. That's,
you know what I mean?
Fair. Absolutely.
Yeah. You know, and that way you're not coming across as cheap. You know what I mean? And you're letting her contribute if she really wants to contribute.
Absolutely.
You know?
That's perfectly fair. I think that's a good strategy. Definitely.
Yeah, I'll tell. I forgot who asked the question, but I'll tell you this, man. You know what's free? The mall. So
there you go. Let's go to the mall. It's a good default.
And then if you want to take it further, you can. Which brings me back to kind of what I was going to say before that question came through. Is I don't know what it is. It's like this like psychological thing. Like, have you ever like met somebody and you're like, wow, I feel like I've known this person for a long time and we just got to know each other, you know, tonight. For whatever reason, I've always found that whenever you go from, like, if you go to multiple places, that seems to be the case, you know? And so with the mall, the mall should be paying me, is what they should be doing.
I know.
But,
this is an advertisement.
but at the mall, but even still, like in an area like, you know, like every city kind of has like a cool, trendy, you know, hip area, right? Like you're from Boston, right?
Yes.
Okay, so like I'm sure in Boston there's some area that's just like, all right, this is kind of like the bar club area of town, if not more than one, right?
Yeah.
So, like here, you know, there's several areas, you know, there's downtown Detroit, in particular suburbs, there's those same areas and things like that. So what I like to do is to kind of like ramp that up to kind of like get that feeling of knowing each other and building a connection quicker is to bounce from place to place, you know? Okay. So like, you know, like, okay, instead of like, all right, being at the same, like, all right, so we're going to hang out at 8. We're going to go to this bar. Instead of spending from 8 to 11 at the same place in the same seats talking, mix it up a little bit. You know, like, hey, you know what? There's this cool place right across the street. Why don't we go over there, check that place out, hang out there for an hour? Then, like, all right, why don't we go on over to this place that's across, you know, that's like 2 places down. You know, like they got a really cool whatever. They have drinks that are on fire or something. Whatever, you know. And then you go there. And it just, for whatever reason, and again, I can't explain the psychology behind it, but it just feels like that you get to know somebody so much faster when you just kind of go from place to place to place, you know?
Absolutely.
And so...
Oh, no. Sorry, continue.
No, I was done. Go ahead.
Oh. And there's also the argument there that one of the reasons that can be beneficial is every time you go to a new spot, there's a new conversation there. Like, oh, have you been here? Do you like this place more? Isn't it fun? I've come here a lot, things like that. So you're definitely able to mix up the scene, which is great. That does make it more fun, makes it seem like if it's a longer, more...
Oh. Maybe she went through another tunnel. I don't know. I guess we're going to find out here shortly. Hopefully, anyway. But listen, guys, if you have dating or relationship questions, throw them out there. Or if you have any kind of topics that you want us to touch on, throw that out. You broke up a little bit. I don't know if you went through another tunnel or what.
I did. We went through the same tunnel. I think we went into a loop. Brooklyn's hard. It's hard to navigate.
Oh, so you're already there. Okay, I'm like, how would you go through the same tunnel?
No, we've been in this car for like 4 hours. Nice car, so it's comfortable. But
all right,
yeah,
that's good.
Now we're kind of at our destination, or we're in the same town, so that's good.
Yeah. All right. Well, let me ask you this. So, speaking of like getting to know somebody,
okay.
What do you feel are some of the ways that like you like to try to get to know a guy better?
A way to get to know them more. So something that I think is a good tactic to do is before you meet someone in person, odds are you follow each other on some kind of social media platform, right?
Okay.
So what I do is I'll go through their profile. Everyone does that. That's not something that should... Did I lose you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a little bit, just for a second.
Okay, sorry about that.
No, you're good.
So what I'll do is I'll look at the person's profile and I'll see what their interests are, and then I'll bring that up and I'll talk to them about it. Like, it's also a way for me to sort of, so I can kind of give them a green light of, oh, hey, this person may be interested in me. They are obviously looking at my social media. Oh, I saw that you went to, Moon Mountain the other day. I've been there as well. Like, do you ski or snowboard, something like that? And,
I got you.
And some people, that could be a little bit intimidating to do because they're like, no, I don't want the person to know that I was creeping on their stuff. And it's not. Like, the stuff is put out there for people to see, and everyone
it's public.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone loves talking about themselves. And if you get them on an interest, then the conversation can go on forever, especially if it's something that you have in common. So
right.
Really, that's
no doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and I feel you. It's not like you're like, hey, so I realized your social security number is, exactly. Like you were like doing a bunch of snooping and stuff. Like, hey, so that's really cool. We both have O negative blood type.
Saw what you were doing in 2009. Let me tell you about my year then. Yeah, no. Be smart about it. Don't go too deep. Don't go too personal, but lighthearted stuff,
Right. This is like generally what I tell guys that I'm working with. For her to kind of get a snapshot into who you are is to be able to tell a story about yourself. So instead of being like have you ever been on one of these dates like where it's just like it's like a job interview? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Like, what do you do? I do this. What do you do? I do this. And it just ping pongs back and forth of just like, that kind of thing. Instead of that, like, generally what I tell guys is, if like, say you were to ask me, like, what are your, what are you interested in? Like, what's your main, like, hobby or interest or whatever? Instead of me just being like, oh, I like this. Tell a story about why and how that you got into that.
Of course.
Yeah. And that way you have a full understanding of what that person's about. Like, I'm not going to go through the whole thing because it takes me like 20 minutes to tell it. But I had a guy ask me one time, he was like, well, look, I'm a gamer. I'm just super into video games, and oftentimes women that I talk to, they're super turned off by that.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right, well, okay, cool. I'm like, but he's like, should I just lie and just be like I'm into something else? And I'm like, no, you shouldn't lie. I'm like, I was like, here, let me tell you a story real quick, and see how you resonate with this. And the story I told him, I just made it up off the top of my head, but I was trying to think of what the lamest thing that I could possibly think of is, and then make it interesting, And the lamest thing that I can think of is a grown man that plays with model trains. Like, I don't know, for whatever reason, it just seems super lame to me.
Fair.
So, I told him this story about like how my dad, me and my dad didn't have a very good relationship. And one Christmas, he bought me a model train set. And that was the one thing that we had to connect over. And, my dad passed away. And like every time I set up my model trains, all it does is bring me back to that Christmas morning that he got me that train set.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
You know what I mean? None of that happened. It was just like a story I was just coming up with off the top of my head.
I mean, you're making it more personal.
I've literally brought people to tears with that particular story, but the thing is that it's like, like when you watch a movie or something like that, and there's a sentimental scene in that movie, like a real, like, emotional scene, and you feel it.
Yeah.
The reason you feel it is because subconsciously, your subconscious mind doesn't understand that it's just a movie. Mm-hmm. Your rational mind does, but your subconscious mind doesn't.
Absolutely.
So your subconscious mind says, this is happening right now, right in front of me. I'm in this room with this guy dying,
Yeah,
and so,
that's true.
And so you get choked up and you're like, oh, wow, that's super sad, And so you feel the emotion of it. When you tell somebody a story and you bring them into your life,
mm-hmm.
they're imagining it. They're picturing it in their head.
Yeah.
And so, and it brings them right there, and it really shows what you're about and who you are, as opposed to just being like, if you ask me, what are you into? I'm just like, model trains. It's like, whatever. You know what I mean?
Whatever.
So, yeah.
And telling a story makes it more personal, and it shows that you're opening up to the person. So, yeah, I'd recommend that.
Right.
Also with, just for that particular person who's really into gaming, there's nothing wrong with that. And gaming is actually it's a huge talent. It's mentally stimulating. You can make money with it. There's nothing wrong
mm-hmm.
with it. It's just you have to be fair with the conversation. You have to be fair to the other person. So if the girl that you're talking to just has no interest in video games, cannot ask any questions, it can, one, be uncomfortable, and two, it's unfair. Like, now you're just becoming the listener, and it's a totally one-sided conversation. And it's the same thing as a girl who's really into makeup talking to a guy only about how much she's into makeup. And it's good. It's like, okay, well, it's great that you're showing an interest in the person by saying all of this information about what you're interested in, and it's good to have interest, but it's not fair to the other person if they have nothing to contribute. So you have to be a little bit smart with that.
Right, of course. And you're absolutely 100% right in that there's nothing wrong. Like, anything that you're interested in, whatever is your passion,
mm-hmm.
that's yours. There's nothing wrong with anything that's a passion of a person,
mm-hmm.
but it's about being able to communicate that passion and being able to convey that in a way that the other person can understand why it's that passion. They may not share that same passion, but if they can understand the mindset behind it, it makes it far more attractive than just blurting out what that passion is, So
yeah, absolutely. It gives them a visual picture, a mental picture. So I completely agree.
Yeah, and listen, and it goes both ways. Like, I've known guys who are celebrities that they've had women like people that, like, you would think like, oh, women are just throwing themselves at this guy, you know what I mean? And they've had women like shoot them down, knowing who they are as soon as they come up, shoot them down because they can't see themselves being a part of that guy's lifestyle, in the sense of, like, look, I've never been in a Hollywood celebrity mixer. I wouldn't know how to act myself, and I'm super nervous about that. So like they just can't envision that lifestyle. However, if that celebrity went ahead and explained why they're into what they do, how they got into it, and like it just opens up the door for understanding.
Absolutely, and it just shows the passion behind it. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. So, all right, so let me ask you another question here that I got. So, if you're in a relationship with a guy, and like, what are some of the expectations that you have for that guy that you're in a relationship with? Outside of like, well, be honest, you know what I mean? Things like that.
Sure.
Like what are some expectations that you have that you're like, I need a guy in my life to fulfill these expectations?
So I really personally value communication both ways.
Uh-huh.
If I'm dating someone who is just kind of hard to get anything out of them, and it's just, I feel like I'm kind of talking at them all the time, and they're constantly just doing their own thing and not really communicating it to me, then that's not something that I'd really be interested in, and that's kind of where the relationship would stop. And then I guess I do expect them to get along with my friends and to make an effort to meet my girls and whatnot, meet my family, things like that.
Yeah.
And I also like I like that being reciprocated too. I like to, hang out with their friends and everything. I'm not entirely a fan of a relationship where it's kind of just the couple and then it's their world and then they have an outside world as well. I like it being fluid, not saying that you have to involve your significant other in every aspect of your life. You don't. I don't think that's healthy. But I think it's good to clue people in on certain things.
I get you.
So, I mean, one of them, if I found out that the guy I was seeing is, up for a new job or something like that, and then the next day he comes home being like, oh, I actually, I'm starting my new job, I just got promoted. Like, well, you didn't even tell me you're up for promotion. Like, this is news to me. Like, wow, if that was the other way around, you would have known everything.
You're like, I didn't even know you had a job.
Where do you work? Why am I supporting you?
Right. That's what I was just going to say. Why do I keep buying everything? I didn't know you had a job.
You sneaky. No, so just communicating. I don't have any fun answers of, they need to give me a ring by this time and I need to have nothing like that. I'm not there in my life yet, but so I don't know hard answers like that, but I think that communicating is really important. That's something that I look for. So I expect to be dating someone who is a talker, and a type that I probably won't be as attracted to them, to be honest. So
I get you. All right. So what's up, Jim? I see you. Thanks for hopping in here, man. Jim's one of my guys. He asks, can a guy make up for poor looks if he has good fashion taste, good hygiene, and high social status?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Those three things are very important. I honestly think that they're more important than looks. So, never psych yourself out by your appearance. Hygiene is important, though. That is completely different. So as long as you're hygienic and you actually are showing that you care about your appearance, then you're in a good spot. Absolutely.
Yeah, take one look at me.
You're gorgeous. I'm sure you have great hygiene too. It's so funny, Dale. Also, this entire time, your screen has been black with a little loading thing.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So when we're talking about like nonverbal cues and everything, I'm like, I'm trying to go like this. I'm like, I hope I'm meeting his eyes right now because I can't.
Well, it's a good thing you didn't see me making faces and stuff, like rolling my eyes at your responses and all that.
I have no idea. So I just want to throw that out there right now. I'm literally just like, I'm staring at myself right now. I'm trying to engage.
If you would have never told me that, I would have never known. But and you're right. in response to Jim's question, that's one of the things that I really try to instill in guys is that, like, looks matter to a certain degree, but it's different. Mm-hmm. Like with oftentimes, from a guy's perspective, looks are going to be the first thing, right? And then, like, okay, she looks good, let's find out more. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Oftentimes, I mean, it's not in general 100% across the board or anything, but a lot of times, from a woman's perspective for a guy, as long as he carries himself well, he's well groomed, not just groomed, like, okay, I brushed my teeth and combed my hair today. You know what I mean? Like, well groomed, with a sense of style about himself, carries himself confidently. That goes a long way.
Absolutely. As long as you show that you're caring, that goes the entire way, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. There was a question I was just about to ask you, and it jumped right out of my head. What was it? It was in regards to something we were talking about, and I lost my train of thought because we got a question that came through. I know what it was. So, all right, yeah, because we were talking about, like, if you're in a relationship and, what some of that, like, criteria, I guess, would be, and you said, communication being the biggest thing for you, when I think that oftentimes what ends up happening, guys don't communicate as well as they should in the sense of, in a relationship, and I think it's really important that, though you said, and I do agree, that there should be some fluidity to, like, his friends, he knows yours, and all that kind of thing. I think that there's something to be said, too, about, like, I have my own independent life.
Absolutely. I knew you were going to say that, and that is huge. I'm sorry. I may have said it, might have been skated over, but it is really important to have your own life as well. Absolutely. I think that's huge. It's very healthy, and it's easy to forget that. And it's really easy to just get completely hyper-focused in the other person or the relationship.
Yeah.
And that's not good for relationship development, and it's not good for character development. So I don't recommend doing that. That is difficult, especially during the honeymoon phase or whatever it's called, first few months.
Right.
But it is really important to have that in the back of your head. With communication,
that's
not about completely saying every single thing in your life or whatnot. It's just sort of important things where put yourself in that person's shoes. Like, oh, I'd like it if I knew that about her. So I'm going to give her the same kind of respect and tell her, that information. Not just word vomiting about your day, because that's not great either. That's boring, and that's a one-sided conversation. And if anything, you'll have two people word vomiting about their days, and, like, that's not the funnest things. I've had a few long-distance relationships, and those lasted a total of no time whatsoever because none other things to talk about. You're just, rambling off about your day. Like, oh, how
Yeah, no doubt. And, the thing is that, you got into a relationship with somebody because of who they are, and I think what happens oftentimes is guys sacrifice who they are to placate the girl in the relationship, and that's all good to, like, obviously you have tastes and interests, like, if you absolutely hate sushi, and I'm like, nah, we're going to the sushi place because that's what I like. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of an asshole move, but at the same time, you want to be able to have a sense of self and not sacrifice that to just try to, like, be nice.
Oh yeah.
I don't know
of course.
I don't know if you've ever been through this classic example. I'm sure you probably have, because who hasn't? But the age-old, where do you want to eat? 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 And nobody ever makes a decision. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And it's super annoying.
It is super annoying. It's such a waste of time.
I tell the guys that I'm working with, be assertive. Know her tastes and preference. If you know that she doesn't like something, don't be like, let's go there, but at the same time, make a decision, like, all right, look, this is what we're going to do. We got 20 seconds left, so I'm going to close it out real quick. Alex, I definitely appreciate you coming on with me. It was awesome. It was a good time, and I'm glad that I could see you, even though you couldn't.